This is Good Morning Jacksonville.
All right, well, the big winds out there sending a canopy flying off a gas station there of a BP in Topsail Beach, North Carolina. Devastating storm surge causing water to creep towards homes, climbing higher and higher. This morning we are watching Hurricane Florence as it will eventually make a landfall somewhere near Wilmington, Morehead City area. My goodness, it is taking its time.
Yeah, and our storm experts are tracking Florence this morning, and our reporters here on the First Coast will be showing the wide span effects of this massive hurricane, even here on the First Coast. A very good Friday morning to you. I'm Lindsay Bochin for Keith and Nelson.
And I'm Lou Turner. All right, let's get to those storm experts right now to see what is going on with Florence.
Righty, yes, we're watching Florence, and here's the big deal. We got the 5 a.m. advisory in. We've got a Category 1 with 90-mile-per-hour winds. All right, so as we take a look, this likely to make landfall this morning. Now, that's key for us here on the First Coast. The question is, would it linger offshore? If it did, it would come farther south and give us some bigger impacts closer to home. Not seeing that, but we are very concerned this morning about our friends in the Carolinas. Now, let's switch over. 90-mile-per-hour winds right now, so 5 a.m. Here's the track. The European, which was the farthest south track, is now agreeing with the American model that won this battle of models. So it does look like with that farther north track, the cone has moved up just a scotch, and it does look like most of those impacts now north of Charleston. So for us, it's about a sunny, hot weekend and being careful in the water with those dangerous rip currents. So notice this track, a very slow track as we zoom in across the Palmetto State, and that's the big concern. Historic rainfall, much of like we saw with Harvey. And this morning we've been talking about this category. It means nothing. Harvey was a tropical storm when it dumped the 60 inches of rain. So Futurecast holds those impacts north. And as far as the change in the weekend, I'd say, Steve, it looks even drier for us. But boy, some really bad news for our friends up in the Carolinas, right?
Absolutely, Mike. Just the slowing down in speed is what's very, very concerning when you talk about how much energy these storms accumulate out in the ocean. Think of all of that energy kind of like as a soaked sponge, and then once it gets towards land, it's just you're squeezing out all of that juice, or like an orange almost. You're squeezing out all of that juice, and that's basically what's going to happen, except it's not going to happen quickly. It's happening over a prolonged period of time with the eye wall all very, very close. Very, very close to making landfall over the next morning. So this thing's about 350 miles wide, and I would like to compare storm to storm, but you really can't because all the impacts are different from storm to storm, whether they're 350 miles, 400, 500, 200 miles wide. Now, I did mention the eye wall. It's about 6-7 miles offshore from, say, the Wilmington area, so we're going to keep a close eye on that landfall through the next couple of hours.
All right, new information now coming in on Hurricane Florence. More than 150 people need rescue. This is in New Bern, North Carolina. Evacuation orders have been given for that area, but of course, as usual, not everyone listens, do they? Winds have reached 90 miles per hour very near the shore. We've seen 100-mile-an-hour gusts. Storm surge, life-threatening level, has already come to Emerald Isle. And that was well ahead of this storm. Now we got some more new video continues to pour in, some from reporters, some from people who decided to try and wait it out. Now this was hours before the storm even got close to shore, and it was already pushing that wall of water, breaching the sand dunes there along the Outer Banks. The Outer Banks is a chain of barrier islands. They call it the graveyard of the Atlantic because of just how treacherous it is to navigate through boats, but it is there to protect the mainland of North Carolina. However, in the southern areas of North Carolina, we'll see what happens when you get south of the Outer Banks. Incredible video there. Back here at home, of course, the storm experts telling us not much in the way of rain. It's going to be actually dry and hot, it seems, on the back end of that hurricane. But the beaches, of course, are seeing some of the effects of Florence. Big waves and the potential for some rip currents. Lana Harris at Jacksonville Beach Live for us this morning, and we know that the lifeguards are going to be on high alert today, especially through the weekend.
Yes, good morning, everybody. Oh man, we really avoided a big one, but like Lou said, we will still be seeing some of those impacts here, and that's why we are here with Mr. Max Urbanian. We were able to drag him out of bed this morning so he can tell us what we can expect here. Thank you so much for joining us, first and foremost.
Good morning. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning. So first, can you just tell us what's going to be the difference between what we might see on a normal day and what we're going to be seeing today?
So we're expecting still dangerous ocean conditions here within our beaches. You know, the elevated wave heights that we've been seeing the last 2 days will be coming down, you know, decreasing in wave heights, but we're still experiencing some major rip currents and then some unknown factors of sloughs and sandbars.
Okay, so then what are lifeguards today going to be most concerned about?
We're going to be most concerned about of the bathers and beachgoers that are still coming into the waters, you know, not the strongest swimmers, and then also the surfers that will be continuing to come to the ocean and the beach. We have to be mindful of their actions versus the swimmers' actions.
Okay, and it's funny you mentioned surfers because I remember when I was a kid, I used to see surfers during a hurricane and thinking, what are they doing out here? Are you crazy? But I learned yesterday from talking to a few of them that that's kind of pretty normal for them to kind of come out and catch these waves. Is that right?
It is very normal for experienced surfers to come out, but what we do have to keep in mind too is the non-experienced surfers, maybe not the strongest swimmers and not the strongest watermen overall, are still trying to come out and experience this hurricane-like conditions, and that's where we're seeing a lot of problems.
All right, well, thank you so much for joining us. He's going to stay with us as the show goes on. For now, I'm going to send things back to you.
All right, thank you, Lana. Well, this is some video from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina's airport yesterday. You could see it's pretty empty, really nobody there. They don't have any flights going out, no flights coming in. The board's reading canceled all down the line. They did that ahead of time. And back here at home at the airport in Jacksonville, it's not going to look so deserted, but we are expecting Florence to cause some travelers some serious delays. They did cancel a lot of flights, like I said, ahead of time. But Cam Uppinger joins us now live from the airport. And Cam, what is JIA looking like this morning?
Lindsay, good morning. Well, it's business as usual. Things are running smoothly here at JIA. Not many cancellations or delays to talk about at this hour, but a completely different situation as you move further up on the East Coast in the North Carolina area. We're talking at least 1,000 flight cancellations. If you take a look at your screen, you can see American Airlines has reported that they have canceled 800 flights. Delta Airlines has been forced to cancel 150 flights, and Southwest has canceled all flights that are scheduled to arrive and depart from the Carolinas. Now, in addition to the flights, airports are also shutting down. North Carolina airports in New Bern and Wilmington will be closed today and tomorrow, and the same goes for South Carolina airports in Myrtle Beach, Columbia, and Florence. Now, the good news or the silver lining in all of this is that majority of these major airlines, they're allowing travelers to rebook their flights free of charge, and most of these airlines, they've been doing their part to support the evacuees in those areas. They've been offering them reduced flights, and they've also been waiving baggage fees and pet fees just to try to give them some peace of mind as they try to dodge this storm. Well, that's a look at how Hurricane Florence is impacting travel. We're going to send it back over to you guys in the studio.
Well, we're continuing to cover Florence, but we also want to keep you up to date on your local headlines after the break. News out of St. Johns County regarding an active shooter training video that's been shown to students.
We're taking a look at your VyStar Credit Union Traffic Center this morning. The good news here in Jacksonville is we have great traffic going on. Taking a look over here at the Fuller Warren, you can see it's picking up out there. We also have one traffic alert that we want you to know about this morning as you are heading out the door in St. Augustine. Here at State Road 16, there are no roadblocks, so it shouldn't cause you any delays or any headaches. And of course, we'll have more updates for you coming up in just a few minutes.